What is up, everybody? Welcome to another live Pendergast podcast on this beautiful Sunday. This is the second one of the day, and man, it is an absolute honor to sit down with my friend and that absolute legend, Isreal Gillette. But before we get into this podcast, it is sponsored by Next Level Financial. Take control of your financial future. Get your complimentary financial analysis today by Seth Starnes. And Isreal, I say this to everybody in the industry, everybody looking to get in the game. Don't spend your hard-earned money on an off-the-rack suit when it's not going to fit you 100% correctly. When you have a suit that does not fit you correctly, man, it causes all kinds of issues on the motorcycle, and much less if you crash. It's no good for anybody, right? My recommendation to spend that money on is go to bisontrack.com, get your full custom suit that is tailored, measured specifically for you. Listen, people, it's 2025. Do yourself a favor, love yourself, get you a proper fitted suit. It makes a world of a difference. Israel can tell you all about it. It's such a game changer in the game. So do yourself a favor, bisontrack.com. Let's freaking go. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute honor to sit down with my friend and the legend, Isreal. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Listen, I've been super excited to sit down and have this chat with you, Isreal, since me and you reached out to each other and got in contact. We have a lot to talk about. Your story is absolutely phenomenal. Can't wait to get into it. And of course, our both love for the Isle of Man TT, but we will get into that, right, Isreal? So let's start it off. Nice background, by the way. I love
hey,
the duck pond.
And right off the get-go, I'd like to thank Chris Boy and his crew and their team here at Motorcourse Performance down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. If you have a Ducati you need tuned or work done to, these are the preeminent guys on the East Coast to have it done. And I'm here doing a little work to help with the bills, getting my Ducati ready for the Daytona 200. So thank you very much, Chris.
Listen, and I can't wait to meet you at Daytona. It's just a couple weeks away. So
yeah, man, it just everything kind of coming together at the last moment for me, which is not totally unusual. But hey, I'm looking to be the best prepared for the 200 this year than I've been before. So I'm hoping for a good result.
Listen, and you will, and I can't wait to get in the story because I'm a dog lover. I know you're a dog lover. You sent me those photos, and I was like, bro, that's magical to be able to travel and take your dog everywhere.
Well, yeah, my dogs have been a real integral part of my life, and kind of I'm by myself a lot and traveling around the world on the motorcycles or in vans or whatever, and they keep me company. And along that line, I was setting up kind of for this podcast in the back next to where my Ducati was being worked on, and I was going to put my buddy Duke, my current buddy Duke, up on a table so he could be a part of this podcast. But it's so nice in here, and I mean, I'm looking at, you guys can't see it, but there's a Desmos Sedici sitting right here in front of me. But I wanted the stuff high up on the wall, and I'm trusting Duke. If it was Dan, I'd have Dan in here, but I'm trusting Duke, but I don't trust him just enough to have him in here for this. So poor Duke's out in the yard.
Oh man, I love it. I have a puppy, but she's actually outside, and I got my old girl Charlie right here. She's always in here with me. So she's yeah, man, she's absolutely amazing. I'm a huge dog lover, so it's you can tell them your secrets. You can just they make me smile every day, right? And it's important.
Yeah.
So 100%. So Isreal, man, let's get into it, bro. Where did your journey start with two wheels?
With two wheels?
Yes.
I was late to the game. And guys get started racing and riding bikes, guys and girls, pretty young these days. My parents were not in favor of me having a motorcycle. So my dad was over in Romania working on a farm. Well, did he have a farm then? He didn't have a farm then, but he was doing some missionary work in Romania back in 1997 or 96 or something like that. And, I just gotten a license and I talked my mom into letting me have a motorcycle. So I got my first bike at like 17 years old. Now I'd ridden a little bit before that, but yeah, I didn't really have a bike till 17. I got to, and we were at the showroom, and I remember I was like really wanted a CBRF 3, I guess, but the guy was trying to move his RF 600s, the Suzuki, which is a water cooled engine. It made some horsepower, and they were all steel frame kind of things back then. And it had good horsepower, and he got a deal on it. So my first bike was a Suzuki RF 600, and yeah, I was
Listen, I remember those. My buddy in high school had one, and I remember the tail section and the brake light was like this wide. I mean, you cannot miss that bike. Yeah, dude. Huge.
And it, the 80s excess and flew it into the 90s, and it was kind of that 80s styling. It had the crazy flares, and boy, I want another one. And they're cheap right now too. Nobody seems to want them, but I'm gonna pick one up. I want the 600. The 900 is a little easier to find. I don't care. I'll take either one, but just for the nostalgia of it, I need one.
Yeah, they were proper bikes. It was a sports bike, but it also had that big banana seat on it. It was comfortable. You wasn't hunched over like this, and you can actually ride from here to Florida or wherever you are, right, for a couple hundred miles.
Yeah, well, I rode quite a bit on it till it. Hey, and I'm not a crasher. I'm not a big crasher, but that bike got wadded up. Actually, I think the engine got turned in. We were helping a family from Kazakhstan, and the father wanted the engine for an ultralight that was working with me at the family business, Stas. So I don't know if that engine ended up living on in ultralight or not. I think it did.
I love it, man. I love it. So, going from your first street bike to how did you get introduced to track days?
Well, I just skipped the track days altogether. I had been racing go-karts and like Formula Ford in like my late teens, early 20s, and I was pretty good at karts. I had a 125 shifter, I had 125 shifters, won a championship or two, and I was good at the Formula Ford, but it was just too expensive, and bikes were cheap. So I picked up a ZX6R Ninja, a 99 model, and I took it to the track. Did the race school, and I was racing that weekend. And I was okay on the ZX6, don't get me wrong, but I just wasn't that great of a rider. I could be like, and it was pretty competitive at the time. There were a lot of people there, but it was one of those things, I was just inside the top 10 in the novice class kind of thing. And then I blew the engine up on the ZX6, and yeah, it just went on with life. Went back to school, went to university, and, trying to figure out what it is I'm going to do in life, which I've not really figured out just yet.
I don't think any of us have, right? Let's just be honest.
Race on the Isle of Man. Yeah, it just went out and lived life and traveled a lot. I rode a lot all over the world. Rode a BMW from Tennessee to Argentina and Chile. Had a failed round world trip because couldn't get a Russian visa, and you either got to go through Russia or the Middle East, and that gets complicated for Americans. But I rode hundreds of thousands of miles, dual sports or big adventure bikes, and I was learning how to ride. Trail, because I ride hard, on road, off road, whatever. I ride hard, and I carry a lot of weight, especially when I started taking my dogs with me around the world. Because you got one. I put them in the pannier, so you got one in the pannier. You got your dog in the pannier. You got to have counterweight, so you got 45 or 50 pounds on the other side. that's a minimum of 100 pounds of extra weight. And, when you can trail brake and get it all right with all that extra weight, when you get on a Ducati V2, you're ready to rock. So it's just one of those things. When I was doing the living and the traveling, and then I decided that I wanted to race on the Isle of Man back in 2016, 2017. I was well prepared. I had developed the skills required to do that. So, and that's kind of a story in of itself as to why I decided I wanted to race on the Isle of Man. Which, there's a lot there.
Well, tell us the story. I'm anxious. Everybody knows my love for the TT. It is absolutely my favorite race, hands down, in the world since I got introduced
All
to it
right.
as a little kid.
Well, Chris, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, dude, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life on two wheels. It's just absolutely, man, it's amazing. So,
and it's well founded,
yes.
And I didn't even know the thing existed, and I was into racing. But it was Speed Channel, or back in the time it was
Speed Vision.
Yep. And they started carrying coverage from the Isle of Man. I had no idea. And the one I really remember was the 2000, when they had the new SP1 or the RC51, and Joey Dunlop was on it at 48 years old. And not Nick Jeffries, but Dave Jeffries was on the R1, which right was there. Kind of a yeah. They call him the Mountain. Was that what they called him? And he the R1 was probably a little bit faster. Dave Jeffries was probably a little bit faster than Joey as well. But Joey just pulled it out of the pulled the pin out and won the race. And then he won a couple other races that week too. At 48 years old, I think he won 3 races. And I was like, wow, that's this whole event's amazing. I got to check it out. Now, it took me a long time to get to the Isle of Man to do so, but during that failed round the world trip that I was telling you about, I was on a Yamaha XT660Z Tenere. And we didn't get them here in the States. They're fuel injected, really nice bike. But, they Yamaha figured they wouldn't be competitive here because you'd have to, they were way more expensive than the XR650s and DR650s. So they never brought them here. But terrific bikes. I've got 2 of them in Romania. And so I started out, and my girlfriend at the time, Hillary, and we went to Ireland and rode all the way around Ireland, and then we caught a ferry over to the Isle of Man, and I guess it was Belfast. We caught the ferry from, and we're on the ferry to the Isle of Man for the first time. No idea anything about the Isle of Man or how to get around, which seems to be a problem for American racers on the Isle of Man. But we ran into this group of likely lads, and they're like Dave and Diff and Colin and Jez and Les and Malcolm and Pete and Laurie. And they took us under their wing and like, we're going to show you around. So we get off the ferry there in Douglas on the Isle of Man. And just before first practice for the TT that year, so late March, or not March, but May. And it took us out to the Solby Strait, and we went into the pub, and I got me a Guinness and got along the railing and just waited. And the road's closed, car comes through, kind of hauling ass.
Yeah.
And then the track marshal or the traveling marshal comes through with the big yellow vest on, and just blasting by. And then eventually, you get the first bikes and you hear them coming, you hear them screaming from like miles away, and you're just waiting on them. And I was there on the railing, and the first one comes through blasting. I'm pretty sure they were super bikes. Don't quote me on that. And wow, that was fast. But I just stayed there, and a couple more came through. And then this guy came through. I mean, I could have touched his helmet if I'd stuck my Guinness out there. And it was, within a couple of feet of me. And he was doing at least 180, 185 miles per hour minimum. And it was like the sensation of it is tough to wrap your mind around. You just don't understand. You watch the videos, you see the feed from, whether it be on board or, whatever's coming out from Duke Video or whoever that's putting it out, and you have an appreciation for it, but you can't fully understand it till you're there.
Yeah, man. Listen, it's a dream of mine. It's definitely on my bucket list to go to the TT. It's another bucket list I achieved was BSB last 2023. I went to Louth in the UK. Went to Cadwell Park, which is one of my favorite tracks.
Cadwell's a great track. I've been fortunate enough to do a track day there.
Dude, so listen, we got so much to talk about, Israel. Me and you can do a 4-hour podcast, no problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, it's the emotions that I get from watching the TV. I mean, the TT on TV is I don't get no other feeling like that, right? It's so amazing. The event, the track, the history, the people. I couldn't imagine standing there exactly what you described, inches away at somebody coming by at 190 miles an hour,
It's again, and I've been fortunate enough to go back and see several TTs and Manx Grand Prix, and do the newcomer training for the Manx Grand Prix, and I've viewed from a lot of different spots. But the guys and I'm friends with all of them still, and we stay in touch. That group that met me on the ferry over from Belfast. They took me to absolutely the correct place to get my first dose of the TT, because Sulby Strait was Sulby Pub was something special.
I can't wait to go. I really can't. It's a dream of mine. As I was pointing out earlier, there's Joey in the 2000 right there, TT, when he was racing David Jeffries. Yeah, Jeffries, he was a legend. What I liked about David, man, he was just a big boy that got on that bike and just did magical things on it, right?
It kind of boggles the mind, because he's a huge guy. I think he's like 6, and I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'1", 6'2". That dude's 6'4", and he wasn't like a skinny 6'4". He was a big dude.
He was, and listen, David Jeffries was, man, I got so many people that I looked up to in the sport, and all genres of sport. The TT, I don't have a favorite racer no more. They're all my friend. All my friends are my favorite racers in the sport. Even at the Isle of Man TT, I mean, there's so many legends, so many, good stories of how they got there, the trials and tribulations they went, Connor Cummins with his wreck, and dude, I can go on and on about all that. Ian Hutchison and yada, yada, yada. So it's man, what an honor to go, dude. I cannot say that I'm not jealous, Israel, because I'm 100% this guy right now. Jelly telly about you, bro. It's like, dude, are you kidding me right now?
Well, in terms of trying to move along, since we got some limited time, and tell about my journey to try to race on the Isle of Man. I went there for TT in 2013 and was just kind of flabbergasted by all of it. And in 2015, they had the Brexit. I think it's 2015 or 2016. They had the Brexit vote, and prices, the pound got extremely weak relative to the dollar. So I'd been shipping motorcycles. That's kind of after university, I started a motorcycle shipping company, and saved enough money. And this Brexit vote popped up, and these 400cc gray market bikes, and two-stroke like RGV 250s, NSR 250s, VFR 400s, there's several different 400 models, the CBR 400s and ZXR 400s. They were all super cheap. So I went over and started buying bikes up. I bought a van over in the UK and started going around, and I had some money saved from shipping bikes all over the United States. So he's talking about some drudgery, living like a cretin out of the back of an old rusty Sprinter van with my dog. But I'd saved up enough money and bought up all these bikes to import to the States. And I went to the Manx Grand Prix 2016, and I was at the very end of the Sulby Straight. So they'd scrubbed their speed off. And I remember not Dave, but Nick Jeffries kept coming by he was on an NC 35, which is VFR 400, but the last iteration of them that I'm aware of anyway. And boy, he'd come around that last bend, coming down to off the Sulby Straight towards the right-hander before Ginger Hall, and he'd have it all out of shape and then, brake hard. And I was sitting there, I was watching it and like, now he made it look real impressive, but I watched a bunch of people there, and it's like, I can do this. I can do this. And I went home well, I don't know. Can I tell this story?
Listen, this is all for you to tell it away.
So my dog Daisy was, she was my best friend, and I had her for 15 years. And Daisy was getting old at this point. I was on the Isle of Man there for the Manx Grand Prix in 2016. And I ended up packing a couple shipping containers. And there's some story there. But to get away from the Manx Grand Prix at 2016, when I decided, hey, I've got the skill to do this, in 2017, when I packed my second shipping container of bikes going to the States, my dad came over and helped me pack a container, and he and I and Daisy drove to in my old Sprinter van, drove to Romania, and ultimately I ended up having to leave Daisy in Romania to go and collect my container and get it out of the port in Oakland, California, or I was going to lose it. And, I couldn't afford to lose it. I had everything that I was worth tied up in it. And if I lost it, it was going to be over with. And an airline who I don't care to give a hard time, Wizz Airways, it's a Hungarian airline. They're terrible. If you ever have the opportunity to fly with them, don't. They wouldn't let Daisy fly with me, and it was like, well, I'll leave her at the farm. And I was over and collected the container and got the bikes, and what was should have been a big stepping stone to the next level for me business wise, ended up kind of in tragedy and me not thinking too highly of business anymore, because Daisy passed away, and I'd had her for 15 years. She traveled over 1 million miles with me. It was a huge loss, and I'd traveled, done some motorcycle trips with her. We went to from Europe down into Turkey, and went to Morocco and different things, and in addition to just traveling everywhere in vans. 1 million miles that dog did with me, and I didn't know what to do. My plans changed, and I'm like, what am I going to do now? I wanted to take her down into Africa, further down into Africa than we'd been before. I wanted to see she loved the camel. First time she saw a camel, and took the camel ride. And I really wanted to take her further down. That was the plan. Go down into Africa. And, that didn't interest me anymore. The business that I'd worked really hard since university to get going and shipping, as it was kind of going, I didn't have interest in anymore. And when I found out that Daisy had died, I was at the Bonneville Salt Flats. Wendover, it's both Wendover, Nevada, and Wendover, Utah. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to do. And I went out there. had a hotel room and went over. I went back out to Salt Flats for the night, and I just stayed there for the night, looking up at the skies, trying to figure out what I want to do. And Daisy had been there at Salt Flats with me on multiple occasions. And this was 2017, and I'm gonna race on the Isle of Man. And I went out right after that, bought myself a SV 650, a second gen, in good shape, and I raced it that day. And that was the start of getting back into racing, and I did real well that day. And I was wondering how I'd do, but there was a Moto America regular there that I raced against my class guy named Chris Evans, and I pipped him at the line. I beat him in my first race back since in my early 20s, and I knew, hey, I can do this. So since then it's been a long and convoluted, twisting path, but here I am, and hey, the dream's still alive, and this is for Daisy and Dan and my mom, who recently passed away. So I'm trying to, people say insanity is like doing the same thing over and over and not having success. And I don't know that I'm doing exactly the same thing, but the Isle of Man dream's still alive. So
I've been there, man. That's sorry for your loss, dude. I had to put down one of my dogs, man. I still get emotional. Thank you, Facebook, for bringing it up. The shared memories. He was 6. His name was Cruz, and he was, man, I've had many dogs. Sorry if I get a little emotional, but it's
okay.
I try to honor the time that we spent together in this lifetime, right? It was an absolute honor to have him in my life for those short 6 years. It's I feel your pain on that, brother, man. Trust me, I really do. It's dogs. People think that they're just a pet. They're absolutely not. They're your everything. They're part of you in your life. And sorry to hear about your mama too as well. That's
She's a great lady.
yeah.
And I'd hope she'd have made it to see me achieve this dream.
She's watching you. So is Daisy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in 2019, I got invited to the newcomer training on the Isle of Man. My racing in 2018 was pretty good on the little SV, and I'm a big guy. I never went in and had the suspension set up or anything. It had Olin's rear shock and Adriani cartridges in the front. And, I'm just kind of learning to push the limits of that. But it was not set up for me quite right. But I did pretty well. So I had good results, sent them in to the folks on the Isle of Man for 2019 newcomer training. And, yeah, I got accepted almost right away. And, the results were good. I was racing against the likes of Chris Parrish and though he was really young at the time, Blake Davis, but both those guys were in there, and I was within the qualifying criteria against those two. So, which meant, I could get around the track. So, and I went over to the newcomer training, and, I had a great time. I was really happy to be there. My instructors were great. It was like Carolyn Sells, the only lady to this point to win a race on the mountain course, one of my instructors, and Jim Barnett and Colin Croft and Dave Madsen Mingle, the most historied rider on the mountain course, and Reese Hardesty, who I've had the pleasure of racing against now in IRC. These guys, I got along great with all of them. I don't know what happened, but they didn't give me a start number. So I was there for the training. I don't know. Maybe I gave somebody the wrong kind of vibe or something. But since then, that's 2019. I went there to not be out of sight, out of mind, to support my friend who I made that weekend. I made a few friends, but Michael Mace and his dad Lee Mace, and Michael did a heck of a job on that newcomer weekend. He did dang near a 115-mile-an-hour lap, which is not hanging around. And so to not be out of sight, out of mind, though I wasn't in the races in 2019, I went back to work in the pits for Michael. And, he had some difficulties, but still performed admirably. And, I talked with some of the people involved with the Manx Grand Prix to try to make sure that 2020 was going to be my year. Unfortunately, both 2020 and 2021 were, lost.
Chaos. Yeah.
So, that didn't happen. And there was, I didn't race really at all in 2020. And then in 2021, after I rode around Europe with my dog Dan, Europe and Turkey, and trying to get places, and Ukraine, we even went up to Chernobyl. Came back to the States towards the end of 2021 and took part in I believe it was GNF on my SV, knocking the rust off. And, still got a qualifying performance. I'd not been on a race bike in a while. And then went out west to a race with Asthma, which is this guy, Roger Hemsbury is the fella's name. He owns a track out in southern New Mexico, and it has a nice little race series going. It's AMA approved, and went there and had my last race on the SV. And it was pretty good because I started dead last. I had no points with those guys, and the lightweight class was it was comprised of SV 650s and the Ninja 400s, and most everybody was on a Ninja 400. And there were like over 30 people in the race. I started dead last, and I won the race. So like these little 400 Ninjas, I just kept blasting them. But that was it. That was the last race for the SV, and I went up to New Mexico, or from New Mexico up to Colorado to meet my cousin Jim Burkhart, the world's coolest nuclear engineer, and he had a Ducati V2 sitting in his garage. It's like, you want to go out and ride it? Oh, I got this V2. Well, yeah, I rode around Colorado Springs, took it up to the base where the NORAD gate was, and got turned around. And as I was getting ready to leave town, he said, "It's yours." So, what a great gift. And, if I was having problems with the SV650, which I really wasn't, it was too small of a bike for me. And, my skill level had come up. The V2's been a bit of a revelation. So I've done extremely well with that. And with my difficulties getting into the Manx Grand Prix, I would certainly be nowhere if I were still sitting on a SV650 attempting to get results, because I'm getting loads of wins on my V2 at the, expert class wins with Wira, CCS, Azra, I'm making Daytona 200s on it. I'm qualifying for the races. Sometimes it's a bit of a struggle. The 200 is a daunting sort of task, and there's a lot that can go wrong. So, but fingers crossed, this is the best preparation I've had going to the 200, and let's see what happens.
I can't What a story, dude. There's so much to talk about in between all that stuff you just said. It'd be my first year going to the 200 this year. And again, I said this before we went live. I cannot wait to meet you. We have so much to talk about. We'll actually do a live little podcast there at the 200 this year. I want to get to a couple of these questions real quick. People commented. Brian Mullen says, I've never met him, but all the people I've encountered, his voice matches his name the least. I love it, right? And then Diddler says, I hope I said that right. Says
DDA. It's DDA.
Oh, DDA. Sorry, I messed it up. But says crazy trip to Argentina.
Yeah. Well, man, my motorcycle trip where I rode from Tennessee to Argentina, I did that solo. If I had to do over again, I would have taken Daisy with me. But it was my first big international motorcycle trip. I'd ridden across Europe before, but that was, it was 2009 or something. And you're like, oh, cartel.
Yeah, I don't want no part of that, right? Yeah.
It was the best thing I've ever done with my life, riding down to South America. And I had some problems with the authorities in Argentina. So, hey, I'm not even going to get into what transpired there. I need to look like I'm a responsible adult for the people over on Isle of Man so I can get my 45-year-old ass in the race.
I love it, man. I love it. Oh, man. We'll save that for next time or off camera.
And I, God willing, and the creek don't rise. Come May, I'll be on the Isle of Man and trying to race in the pre-TT classics on a Ducati. So
I love it, man. I love it. And we got a good friend of mine, which is an absolute legend herself, Cora Leonard. What is up, Cora? She says, we love you guys. Listen, and we love you too, Cora. Absolutely. Jerome says Israel has the stories. Yes, he does, Jerome. Yes, he does. Arch York. What is up, Arch? Best of luck in the 200. Sorry, I miss you this year. And then we got Go ahead.
Oh no, he was there last year with the crew. He's helping some guys out. He's part of the 811 dig team, and they were good to have around last year. My buddy, our mutual friend Matt Crabtree was my crew chief, and boy, I had a great crew for last year's 200, which is another story in and of itself. But continue on.
I love it, man. I love it. And then, of course, we got the legend Gary Johnson. What is up, Gary? He says, "Some boy Izzy."
So Gary was on our endurance team at the Race Champions at Daytona this year, along with Michael Mace. So we kind of had a bit of a ringer team, or I did. I was fortunate, and a lot of stuff kind of popped up. And now Gary, we were planning on being on my Ducati to run the endurance, but the Ducati blew up right before the endurance race, and we thought, hey, we're not getting into the endurance is done. Now Gary had bought a GSXR off Team Hammer, and he'd been there running laps and getting used to the place. Poor Michael got left out in the cold. I know my way around Daytona pretty well. Poor Michael, he'd gotten some laps on the Ducati before it blew up, but anyway, a day after it blew up, or the day it blew up, we went out to meet my buddy Didier, who talked about the Argentinian trip. And Didier is an Argentinian American. And we met he and some of his friends at a restaurant, and kind of drowning our sorrows, busted Ducati. And they were like, hey, why don't you guys do the relay class, and we'll let you use our bikes. So, man, and the guy with the R1, oh, I feel so bad. I've forgotten his name. I can't pull it out of my head right now. But Mike got to use the R1. And DDA put me on his old RSV Relay, which it was a good bike. It was a good bike, but I'd never been on one before. And so the next day, Mike and I got on. He may have ridden R1s. He's definitely no stranger to leader bikes. He had a big Beamer, but this RSV melee felt a little alien to me. So I got one shortened practice session to kind of try to get up to speed on it. But ultimately, we had a great race, and we finished third overall. So Joe Lamandry Jr. and Richie Escalante finished 1 and 2. And hey, this band of miscreants led by Gary Johnson there, who had the best lap times on his fancy GSXR. And Gary's just a quick guy anyway. You got to see him at these IRC road races. We came in third. We were third overall. So that was a great time. And I really appreciate those guys coming over to support Team Moto Mud International.
I love it, man. I love it. Gary Johnson says, are you taking any questions? Absolutely, Gary. Ask all the questions. He says, out of all the dogs, which dogs like going the fastest?
Border Collies. Without a doubt. Border Collies. My dog, Dan, which is the Moto Mutt International. I see it.
I see it. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, that's a Border Collie. That's Dan. And Dan was fast on road, off road. He was a Valentino Rossi of the dog motorcycle world. And there's no question about the fact that Dan was the best motorcycle dog in the history of the world. It's not close.
I love it, man. I love it. My buddy Stuart Lancaster says, hey, Isreal.
Hey, Stu. What's going on, man?
Yeah, Stuart's a legend. Terry says, wait, I thought you already told it. Yes, tell it.
Oh, no. She wants me to tell the story about how I got shot at in Argentina. I'm not telling that story right now. It'll take too long.
We'll save that for part 2 for sure.
Yeah, I need to appease the doubters about my ability to race on the Isle of Man. Is kind of what I'm doing, and so, I think some of them think I'm insane. Is part of the reason I'm having difficulty getting in. So that's not going to help dispel their notions. So I probably should tell that story.
Well, we need to get you in. We need to do everybody listening to this, man. Let's try, man. I know some people over there too that I reached out to. So I'm trying everything on my end too to get you over there, because I would love to see you fulfill your dream over there and be part of your journey and support you the whole way.
Gary Johnson he spoke up on my behalf. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that, and he's not the only one. There's some people over there that believe in me. I don't know exactly who the people are that don't believe in me, but the plan is maybe tentatively to kind of race under the Gary Johnson tent for the Manx Grand Prix. These things are kind of in the workings, but Michael Mason and I it would be kind of under the Gary Johnson tent. I guess his plans are to race the classic TT aboard what, I don't know, and but tentatively that's the plan. So and I look forward to talking with anybody though that has some ideas about the way forward for me on the Isle of Man and the Manx Grand Prix.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Please, if you're watching on and you have some ideas, don't hesitate to shoot me a Facebook Messenger or whatever. Just
or get in touch with me, and I'll put you in direct contact with Isreal personally, and help you out, Isreal, for sure. Michael Mace says, when you finally get to twist the throttle down Bray Hill, which part of the course are you most looking forward to racing?
Well, absolutely the mountain course, because I have the most, or the mountain section, the mountain section. So from Ramsey down to Craignabaugh, I know it the best because I've been to the TT many times and been able to do the one-way system, and I know I can use both lanes and go as fast as I want to, except for right there where the tram crosses. So I'll be getting some more laps in there for TT 2025. So absolutely. That's where I'm most looking forward to. Trying to be quick, though. I'm a big guy getting up the mountain and taking a beating, but I'll know that portion of the course best.
I love it, man.
Thanks,
I love
Mike.
it. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for everybody joining in and watching this podcast. Nothing but love to every single one of you. Wayne Boyd says, excellent podcast. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate you. Ashley Pendleton says, best of luck this season, Israel. Peter Clarkson, I'm trying to get to everybody real quick. Peter Clarkson says, go Israel. Sandra Black, thank you so much. You're awesome, my friend. Says Israel is a bit like Guy Martin, aka ask a question and he's off, interviewer not needed. Loving it. Yes, you're right. I love it, dude. I love Israel's commitment. I love Israel's vibe. I love his energy. It makes us characters unique, right? Having that positive outlook.
And Sandra is a big supporter of the American road racing in general, but. Yep. But I've noticed she likes to support the American road racers. So thank you, Sandra.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And Diddler, man, I'm sorry.
No, Dyer. Well, I couldn't remember Jacob's name.
Sutter. There you go. I love it. So then we got Michael Mace says, Jacob Sutter lent me the R1. He's an absolute legend. Matt Crabtree, what's up, man? He says, our Daytona crew was great. Good luck this year.
Well, I'm hoping with good luck this year. Last I talked to Matt, he was talking about being there and being the crew chief again. I really want that to happen. Now, can I take just a real quick second to talk about the crew last year? So Matt had agreed to be the crew chief kind of going into it, had a couple other people lined up, but there's this – we had a great, and DDA was a part of it. We ended up having just really the greatest crew amongst the privateers. I mean, we had 30-second pit stops. That's changing a rear tire, putting a full tank of fuel in, trying to get some drink in me. And but there's this one guy kind of wandered in out of nowhere, and he had a little dog with him. Of course, I had my dog Duke with me, and he came over. He had pop bottle glasses on, kind of odd looking fella. Kind of wandered in. He's like, "Hey, like what's going on?" I tried to fill him in about this and that, and he's like, I worked on some motocross bikes because they had the Supercross race right before the 200, and I'm like, yeah. And, you interested in having a little extra help? And I didn't know what to say to the guy, but he was well spoken, but a little odd looking. And like, well, I'm happy to have you help, but Matt, he's the crew chief and he's got the final say. And man, I walked away from there. I came back and my Ducati was spick and span. He had already gone in and cleaned everything up, fixed some little problem issues. I just got done changing oil. And then I come back and talking to Matt. I'm like, Matt's like, I really like this guy. I'm like, I do too. And it turns out Craig Randall's his name. Craig Randall, he's one of like the preeminent Supercross mechanics on their circuit. Like he's a real badass. And, we picked him up for nothing. But yeah, we had a great crew at the 200 last year.
Sounds like it, man. I can't wait to make my appearance at the 200. I'm not racing, but I'm actually helping a buddy of mine out, Eddie K. I'm helping him out on his team this year. It's going to be proper magic. And again, I can't wait to go around and meet all my friends there. And you're included. And we'll do like I said, me and you'll get together. I'll be like, what's up, everybody? Israel, say hi, all that good stuff. So yeah, man, it's going to be proper mega, as I always say, right? And so we have another one. Max a Trillion Fat Stack says, hey, Israel, I guess you'd hit higher speeds coming off the banks at Daytona 200 than any other straights on the Isle of Man because there are so many bumps and less runoff. But which has a higher pucker factor for you? Being bar to bar coming off the bank at Daytona or being inches from the stone walls fully wide open on the Isle of Man?
Bro, I'm kicking some butt right now on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Well, good. Go in and go kick some butt. And
bro, I just completed like a lot of Stormo, bro. I'm kicking Vegeta's butt. I kicked him twice in Super Saiyan and normal, and now he's back in golden form. And then I just powered up to Super Saiyan Blue. I already defeated him. And then now Vegeta got to fight him. I already defeated Majin Buu. I did Cell. He turned like super fat and then blew up, and then I died. Like Goku became a ghost, and then he got back because they killed Krillin. Then we whisked him back with the Dragon Balls. Then I died because I instant transmission all the way to another planet. So because he was like super fat and he died, and I died too. So I came back with the little angel thing, and then I'm alive again. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my son Hayden Rossi, right? He always busts up in here, Israel, all the time. And
no worries. It happens. If Duke could bust in here right now, he absolutely would.
I love it, man. I love it. It's yeah, man. He's my everything. But sorry about that.
No, hey, it's a-okay, man. So as far Max Trillion, the pucker factor will be the Isle of Man because I don't know where I'm going. I mean, I know where I'm going, but I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah. The real road race is absolutely amazing. You know, it's again, people know Israel, dude. I'm telling you, I'm such a diehard Isle of Man TT fan. It's ridiculous. It gives me emotions that no other race has ever given me, right? Yes, I get emotional when all my friends race. Don't get me wrong, or short circuits, but it's something about the real road racing. You know, it's just a different level. It's a different emotion. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different energy, right?
Well,
it's
something you should really look into. Of course, the Irish road racing, Isle of Man, that stuff's all amazing. It really is, and definitely it needs support. But the IRC, the International Road Racing Championship, hey, I've taken part in a couple of rounds of that, and it's no joke. Those guys are hyper competitive, hyper fast, and there's a lot of guys doing the Irish roads and the Isle of Man that are involved in that, and it's something else. It's something else. So keep that on your radar if it's not already up there. IRC.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I'm well aware of it. It's all proper road racing is absolutely amazing, right? And to me, so listen, to me, Israel, I don't know about you, but it's not the solo guys like the legends like Gary Johnson and all these other people out there on the solo bikes, you included, but it's the sidecars and more or less the monkeys in the sidecars that just blow my mind. I'm like, dude, them are absolutely on a whole nother planet. Then
I don't even know, you know, and there's a couple of guys that swap back and forth during TT week, or you know, they're racing both solo and the sidecar, and it boggles the mind. I don't know how to take that.
It's me neither. You know, I've always wanted to. I got some friends that do sidecar racing. My buddy Peter Essoff, he went over there to sidecars, raced the TT, and I can't wait to be a monkey just to go around the track, you know, a couple times to see what it feels like. Because every time I watch him at the TT,
and I know him. He races with Arma, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure
is he racing with his wife, or who's his monkey?
I'm not 100% sure. I'll reach out to him and I'll ask him.
Hey, and I'll be at the kind of the bedding in this Ducati. I'll be at the Armor race next weekend at Roebling Road. So
I like it.
Hopefully it won't rain us out. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope not, because we are supposed to be getting some weather coming through. So hopefully it'll stay away, right? So you know, other than the Daytona 200 this year, what other races do you plan on participate besides the TT and all that?
Well, generally speaking, I'll probably do Roebling. I'm really good at Roebling. It's nice and flat, so I don't take a big man's penalty like I do at some of the other courses. So the week after the 200, Weir will be there, so I plan on doing that event just to get some good results from, you know, Roebling Road. You know, I can win with both bodies there, just to send those over and hopefully get a good result with at 200 as well. And then after that, I think racing in the United States this year is probably done. There's a couple of different things that could happen that would have bearing on maybe I send the Ducati to Europe, maybe I don't. It's yet to be determined. I'd heard one thing about whether my V2 was going to be legal in the Manx Grand Prix this year or not, and I'm not even in the race officially yet, so I don't know. But that would have some bearing on whether I leave the Ducati here, because I've got a 675 Triumph I've been racing in Europe, so it's there ready to go. But the next race for sure that I'm trying to do will be that pre-TT Classic at the Southern 100 course, or Billtown course in the south of the Isle of Man. You know, I'd really like to do Cookstown, but that's appearing to be a bridge too far. The more likely thing that would happen, I'd go to the Netherlands to race the first round of IRC at Hengelo. And I know that course, so, you know, it's just one of those things that the bike that I've got over there at the moment, it's not a terrible bike. It's just down on power. And but if B2 at Hengelo, that's a different story. So we'll see. I don't know, but Hengelo and the pre-TT would be the most likely things coming up. And then, of course, the Manx Grand Prix. Other than that, maybe if the bike's my Ducati's still here, I do the Race of Champions back here at Daytona. But, you know, and I always like going to Roebling Road because, you know, I'm pretty fast there.
I love it, man. It sounds like, man, what a life you've lived so far, Israel. Traveling to all these places, riding on all these tracks around the world, meeting proper mega friends. You know, that's what I love about our community. I call it our beautiful circus, right? Everybody becomes family. You know, it's different than any other sport. You become a part of. You actually become a part of the sport. I'm a firm believer that in our racing community and bikes in general, bikes choose us. We don't choose the motorcycles, right? As far as, I'm not talking about individual bikes, Ducatis, Yamaha, Suzuki's. I'm talking about the sport as a whole, right?
Yeah.
And once it grabs a hold of you, man, it's the most beautiful thing ever. It absolutely is. You know, the feelings, the emotions, the friends, the families. It's an honor to be a part of it all and see everybody's dreams come true. And yeah, I can't wait to follow you, Israel. And I'll listen, me and you going to sit down many, many times on this podcast. We have so much to talk about. And seriously, if anybody's out there listening to this, let us know. Or if you have any ideas how to get my man over there at the Mannix, and let's make it happen. Let's make this happen for Israel. I would love to see you over there.
Without a doubt. And I don't crash. You know, my Ducati's back here. It's done 70 sprint races. It's done a few Daytona 200, or been at Daytona a few times. It's never been crashed, not a single time. You know, and I'm fast ish. I mean, it's all relative, right? I can ride a motorcycle, and I can ride it without too much drama. And yeah, I can do that. So, and this ain't, you know, the people involved with Isle of Man, they know who I am. So it's my last year potentially as a newcomer, 45 years old. So that's kind of like the cutoff and as a newcomer.
Yeah.
But I think I can raise some eyebrows when I get there. I think I've got something going for me. And
so, you know, I just checked my own self. Because there's this bad guy, and he like took over my body. So now there's two Gokus, and his name is Black Goku because he's wearing a black clothes, and he can only charge up one time in that Super Saiyan Rose where his hair's all pink. He's very strong. And later on, he kills my wife and my kid. So then I become like.
He's talking about video game.
So then I like charge up later on in the game so much that I destroy him in the entire universe or something, and I save the day, but I die.
Well, you go, Goku, Goku,
I
whatever.
gotta go. haven't got that far yet, but I just kicked Black Goku's butt, you know. And now I just fought Zeno. Well, not Zeno. I forgot his name, but I destroyed him.
Good
And
job.
then
I'm proud of
I'm
you.
with Grand Zeno, and if I mess up, like she can just like snap, and the entire universe will be gone. So, you know, she has very.
Well, I'm proud of you.
But we're friends, because then I bring her like a second version of her, and then she gets real happy. So she knows
I
explore
love
the
it, man.
universe.
You gotta love kids, man. They're absolutely amazing. He's in there playing a video game, right? He loves to come in here.
I do immediately.
Yeah,
I've played my share.
Dude. So the guy I'm referring to that I want to put you in touch with is my good friend Eric Wilson. He had a big role to play in. Do you know Eric?
Yeah, well, you know, I don't think we've met firsthand, but there's a bit of a story about how I narrowly missed meeting he and Dave Houston down in Mexico, because I had my SV650 loaded up in the back of an old ambulance crossing down to Baja, Mexico. And the Mexican authorities wouldn't let me in. They said because it was an emergency vehicle. Some kind of border dispute, emergency vehicles across the border, this and that. And I almost had them convinced to let me ride my SV650 from the border at Baja there in the United States and Baja, Mexico, down to where the event was going on, what do they call it, the Baja Cup, or what, an international cup. And they almost let me do it. I had the bike pulled out and everything, and they're like, "Oh, there's no tag on it." I'm like, "I can put a tag on it. And they wouldn't let me in. So, you know, I drove all the way down there, and they turned me around. So I didn't get to meet those guys. You know, maybe something would have been struck up with them about being a part of because they got a lot of American road racers on their team.
They do.
But it just wasn't meant to be. So, but I know exactly. I'm friends with Eric on Facebook, and we have occasional interaction. So yeah, I'm familiar with him.
All right. Well, I'm gonna reach out to him and Dave Houston, because you know they got Ricky K, my friend Ricky K, and Dave Thomas and all them over there. Yeah. So I mean, those are the two main players that I know that could, you know, possibly, potentially, absolutely help you out. So after this, I'm gonna message them. I'm gonna put us in a group chat and let y'all do y'all's thing. And yeah, man, it's always an honor, man, to help people out. I think that if you're in that position, you should be able to help anybody out that wants to succeed, especially in our sport, right? Because everybody needs help. Valentina Rossi needed help, right? All of Mick Doohan, everybody needs help to get where they want to be in this sport. It's not just all you. And Michael Mace, absolutely. He says, "Gee, this kid's got the same enthusiasm as Isreal. Must be eating the same Smarties." It might be. You never know, right? It might be. So my son, his name's Hayden Rossi, after Nikki and Valentina. Yeah. He's wide open, just like me. As soon as I get off here, you know, I'm go constantly. And yeah, man, I've been trying to get him on a bike, Isreal, for a hot minute. Finally, we've got him a dirt bike this year for his birthday, Christmas, actually. So, yeah, I need to get him out there. And it's funny, though, Isreal, because we'll go to Moto America race, and we're good friends with Yandel Medea, and he'll go up there, and he'll get his little 50, and he's gone the whole weekend just riding this thing around. But we come home, he just really don't show any interest in it, and I don't want to force it upon him or, you know, make him do something that he's not ready to do yet. So, yeah, it's well, listen, Isreal, this has been a lot of fun. I told you this hour's going to go by super quick, man. I didn't even get to, you know, I usually like to sit down and ask a bunch of personal questions so people get to know you more on a personal level, but we'll definitely save that for the part 2. Me and you definitely going to get together at Daytona. We will continue this conversation. We'll do another podcast there at Daytona, right? That'll be our part 2, and then we'll schedule our part 3, part 4, because there's so much that me and you have got to talk about. I got so many questions in my head. But yeah, so listen, I do want to ask you this, man. Do you watch the Super Bowl? I'm not a football fan. I'm a soccer fan. That's the only other sport I watch besides two wheels.
You know, I played both American football and soccer growing up. I led the state of Tennessee in punting average in high school because the high school that I went to did not have a soccer team, so I played football. But the likelihood of me watching the Super Bowl tonight is slim.
Yeah, I'm going down to my buddy's house. We usually do like this, everybody bring a dish and cook and all that. I go just to hang out with my friends and eat food, and then I don't even stay for the Super Bowl. I just look and like, yeah, okay, they're winning, whatever, right? I have no interest in it at all. But it's always a good time to spend time with your friends and get away from all the chaos that we live in this world, right? Listen, Israel, dude, this has been a lot of fun. You, my friend, are absolutely an amazing human being. And I'm glad that me and you reached out to each other and ended up connected. It's an absolute honor, and thank you so much for coming on the show. It means a lot to me. I hope.
Hey, well, as you're wrapping up, but I was planning on talking about maybe finances of the sport and different things that bring up a whole different myriad of issues. But I really want to thank Mark 10 Motorsports and Podium Motorsports as well. James Bach, and there's a new guy that's taken over. Thank you for hooking me up with these great Pirelli tires that makes kind of a big guy like me look like I know what I'm doing. So thanks to those guys. And one more time, a big thank you to Chris Boy and Motocourse Performance here in Fort Lauderdale for letting me use their facilities.
I love it, man. Yeah, Mark 10's an absolute legend, right? He does amazing things for people. I actually got a phone chat with him coming up here shortly. Yeah, man. Listen, Israel, there's so much, again, like I said, that we got to talk about that we just barely scratched the surface of this conversation, that we are absolutely 100% in a couple weeks going to continue live at Daytona. So you people stay tuned, because me and Israel are going to get together and continue this chat live at the racetrack if the internet will allow us. If not, we'll go back to the hotel and we'll continue it somewhere there in Daytona. I promise you. Listen, Israel, I'm gonna let you give all your shout outs and all that good stuff. I'm actually gonna let you in the podcast, which I do to all my friends that come on here. But okay, I got to give all my shout outs real quick. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everybody that watches this podcast. If you guys and girls have not had a chance, please go to my Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, all that. You guys know the deal, that ding, ding, ding button. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for Israel for coming on. It was an absolute honor to sit down and have this conversation. Big shout out to Next Level Financial, bisontrack.com for your leather needs, Chef Eats for all your amazing food at the track, TST Industries. Big shout out to my man Martin at theclothingkings.co.uk, where you guys can go get all your Pendergast merch. I just had him and Jake Marshall on the podcast earlier today. Big shout out to my man Eric at Superbike Supply, SFL Mini GP, RD Racing, Jake March. I just mentioned that, right? Vet 2 Track, Flying Eyes Optics, 64-degree Racing, Ghetto Customs, Chris Parrish, Carnes Performance in Pennsylvania, KYT Helmets America, K-Tech Suspension, my man Birch, Kendall, and Dakari, RTR Ready to Race in North Carolina, Coleman Power Sports here in Virginia, McLeo Escapes, Track and Tour, Road Racing World. I need everybody to go to roadracingworld.com. Donate to the fund for our air fences. It's imperative that we have that here on that track. Donate $5, $10, $50, whatever you have to spare. Thank you so much for donating. Big shout out to STG, Brian Van and Max Van, Drip and Wet Graphics, REB Graphics, and my man Gus Rodeo, GRG Graphics. Big shout out to my girl Aliki at Venom Undersuit. She actually sent me, this is actually Johannes Fogger top to the undersuit.
I've got his boots.
I love it, Israel. I love it. Big shout out to, listen, if anybody, my friends out there in the UK want any proper training besides California Super Bike School in the UK, big shout out to them and Gary Ashland. You can hit up Mike the Spike Edwards, which is an absolute legend of the sport out there in BSB. You guys go to v121pro.com and sign in and join and get you some coaching done. Big shout out to BTR, Build Train Race, World Infield here in Moto America. I love that program that they're doing for everybody. So big props to them. Big shout out to my man Ant Lee Terry at Racer 411. He has a program, tippingracing.com, Hyper Naked Suits. And listen, all these people I gave a shout out to right now, they're all my friends within the industry, and you will not go wrong with reaching out and buying any products or getting any service done by any one of them. So yeah, Israel, thanks again for coming on, and let everybody know where they can find you on social media, how they can share all the love and support. And do you have any t-shirts or hats or anything, merch for sale?
Well, I probably should, because I got some nice logos, but I've been focused more on buying tires and things than producing t-shirts. But we'll see. Maybe eventually I will. But in terms of social media presence, you Google Moto Mutt International, MOTO International. You'll find a lot of stuff. And if you want to read some of these crazy stories that have been alluded to earlier, Two Wheels Future Uncertain. And, Moto Mutt International and Two Wheels Future Uncertain will get you both to my YouTube and my blogs. And yeah, if you want to read more about me or see some videos, you'll find them.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Isreal, dude, it's been an absolute honor to sit down and do this podcast. Do me a favor, stay on with me for a quick minute when I end this podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope the rest of your Sunday is as proper mega as you are. And the week coming up, I can't wait to see all my friends in Israel down in Daytona. You guys can't miss me. Trust me. I'll be walking around pink, lively. Dude, you won't miss me. Trust me. Big shout out to Eddie K, because I'm helping him at the 202 as well. I'm excited to see my my good buddy Peter Hickman and catch up with a bunch of my friends. So you guys stay tuned. Big things are coming. Again, Isreal, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. It was an absolute honor to sit down and have this chat with you today.
Oh, cheers. Thank you for having me.
Listen, many more to come. You guys stay tuned. And on that note, we will catch you guys next time. All right, let me end this real quick. Just stay on with me for 1 second, okay?
Calling all two-wheel enthusiasts, get ready to rev up your earbuds with Pin the Gas Podcast, the ultimate motorcycle racing podcast, hosted by Chris Simcoe, one of our very own excellent leaders here in Roanoke, Virginia. With expert analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive writer interviews, Pin the Gas Podcast delivers the adrenaline rush of the racetrack straight to your ears. Whether you're a diehard fan or a curious newcomer, you'll gain insights that will transform how you watch and understand motorcycle racing. On your favorite podcast app, join Simcoe as he takes you on a high-speed journey through the world of motorcycle racing. Pin the Gas Podcast.